plants to change. Got a dozen or so, I guess. Oh, there he is. Looks like he's finished just packing up his stuff. So, good morning. It's not raining at last a day. It's going to be, I'm sure. He's just packing up. Just missed him. Sorry, he's been taking plants in and out of that cafe for the last 20 minutes or so. So, can you hear me now? Testing 1, 2, 3. Not turned on. Testing 1, 2. I'm seeing it move on the end here. Can you hear me now? I think so. Okay. Okay, whatever. We win some, we lose some. John, don't let it go to your head, okay? When you're playing backstop to Dave, it's a pretty easy job to catch stuff. Hey, I've been forgetting about the eggs, actually. Soka. All right, fair enough. That does deserve a half an egg and another half an egg. Fair enough. I've been forgetting about that. So maybe in my mind that meme came and then moved on. My apologies. I also keep forgetting about this one. We keep this guy. People every now and then ask about fridge, and he's still there. So my apologies for not keeping up my end of the stick here on all of these things. Give me a break. I'm busy. Okay. Those of you who really are attentive here, instead of just joking around about microphones, will notice there's been some progress. On all day Thursday, after the stream was over, I had my cup of coffee and I came back here and I got busy. And then I tried to keep it up again yesterday, but yesterday was a packing day. Yesterday was FedEx. Paper is out. Ishikawa-san's coming this morning. She's printing the Kiku, the chrysanthemum print, not the big version. She's printing the small version. And she maybe finished a batch of it today. So there's actually quite a number of people waiting for that. It ran out before I noticed it. And so today's stream is going to be, we have really moved along with the fur or hair, whatever it's called technically. We're really moving along. We're going to continue this morning. There will be a show and tell. I've got a box. When I was in Ome, a week or so, for the vaccination, a week or so, as I was heading back from Ome, just before I got on the bus, I remembered I'm supposed to grab some stuff. So I went to the flea market shops. I went to the collection shelves and grabbed 2 boxes. And one of them you saw last week, that was the book, the Birds and Flowers book. And today we have another small little book to show. Really beautiful. They deserve way more attention than we can look at them in this little show and tell. But they are, one by one, getting scanned. Why does it seem so dark here today? We're in our normal place. The normal light is on. You don't want to hear about FedEx, not a happy camper. We have our issues with FedEx, of course, but they do deliver for us. They do deliver. They take the box, they don't complain, and bang, it gets there. Now and then it's late. We had a box, I think not this one before, but the one 2 ago. It took 10 days to get there, which I don't think is very good service for a company like that, but whatever. But they do deliver for us. All the lights are on. All the normal lights are on. The lights over there, the lights here, the light above my head. All the lights are in exactly the normal setup. But it does seem a bit darker. I don't know. Have I changed something in the camera? I don't believe so. It definitely seems darker. What is different here today? Look at this. Oh, good morning, Shika-san. Hello. It is manual, but how do you then change it once you've switched it to manual? There's no buttons to go up or down. Let's give it a go. Everything is the same. Everything is the same. It's a slightly cloudy day there. So I get it, the auto exposure to show. My bright fingers come in here, this part goes dark. I get it, I get what's happening, but I think we're good to go. Okay, let's get some work done. Let's get some work done. I know we were down here somewhere the other day, and I've been working my way up. An image like this, you know, because it's got all these zones, you know, it's just a question, go through zone by zone by zone by zone. I know I've been comparing a little bit of what we've carved with the drawing that we've traced here, and I've noticed something that I've done that's going to have to be fixed when we go back a little bit. The original drawing we've got is really low res, and it's been really blurred. As I'm looking at it here, these lines are really blurred. Once we've copied onto the block, it's been even more blurred. I haven't so much worried about it because I've just been, you know, carving generic lines that fit the space. This is kind of like the way it was done in the old days anyway. The original one, there wouldn't have been tiny lines drawn. They would have just been a vague wash, and the first carver would have carved his own version of hairs. So it's okay, but what I've been doing that's actually probably wrong is this. You see this, we've got a black line and another black line, and there's curved hairs in between. And I've been carving like this, curved hairs in between that go from black line to black line. But looking back now at the master copy, I see that what they've mostly done is that the curved lines don't actually go from black line to black line. Some of them do. They go right across the IDB that the curve is behind, and other ones are rooted on one side and they fade out. This whole group is rooted here and they fade out before touching the opposite side. And we see that all the way across this group. They're rooted here, they don't quite touch that side. So what I'm going to have to do, once we're done this, I've done some test printing, I will come back down here, and it'll be a fun day to do that. I'll hit some of these groups, decide which side has to be the rooted side, and then taper off the other ones at the other end. And it's no sense to do it now because I don't have any sense of left and right, up and down, of which way the hairs should actually move. A bunch of them have been done this way, the ones that were clear. We've got a group that's rooted here and they taper off. So it's not like I've got to go back and do the whole thing again. But there are clearly a bunch of groups where I've got them just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, when they should have a specific taper one way. I'm going to try and be a bit more aware of that as I move forward. Like this group here looks like they're rooted here and they don't touch there. But definitely I'm going to have to go back and touch up a bunch of the ones we've already done. All in a day's work. Okay, let's get ready and let's get going on this. Some of them go through the black lines, they do that. So, and there's these areas where there's the gap in the line, and I've tried to make it so that the little hair pieces inside the lines, mostly for the most part, match up with something outside. Not all the gaps have hairs. Some of the gaps are clean gaps, the idea being they're standing in front, and a bunch of the gaps do have hairs inside. This one has hairs going through. So there's a variation on here. There's a good mix. Anyway, let's get at least a token amount of work done here today. And today's Saturday. There's nobody else here. Ishikawa-san will be here upstairs printing. You saw her just come in a moment ago. But other than that, there's nobody here. So this has got to be, for me, a good solid carving day. Two of my other main jobs, the share certificates and the FedEx box, are now cleared. So really my next priority now here has got to be this carving. So. And I'm getting constantly distracted by YouTube, the statistics from YouTube. I know it's just incredible. It just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. I mean, obviously the total number of views climbs, but I mean the rate of climb is climbing. And I have no idea what's happening at YouTube headquarters, but something in the algorithm has decided, let's really give these guys a boost. And the numbers now are just getting scary. So we'll enjoy that while it lasts. Where are we here? Resolution, I know my setting at the moment is 1080. We're putting 1080 up to Twitch. I don't know what they're doing with it, but we are, as I understand, sending 1080. Speaking about the resolution and stuff too, over on the YouTube, there's been increasingly, requests. I don't know, polite requests, nobody's yelling at me, but there's been increasing requests for me to change the resolution of the YouTube videos. I've been thinking, 1080 is pretty cool. We were doing 780 up until about, was it 2 years ago or so? I can't remember exactly. And then I switched over to recording in 1080 and uploading in 1080, and I've been thinking, wow, 1080, oh my God, look what we're doing, And yet there's been an increasing number of people who not complain about it, but say, look, this isn't cutting it. The content is so interesting. We need this in a better resolution, And from my point of view, it's like, here we go again, because this never ends, This never ends. How much is enough, I mean, already when we do it at 1080, it's pretty much, at least on the monitor I've got, there's no way I can see any better resolution than that. These people are asking for 4K, but I guess they're a lot younger than me. I don't know. I was thinking, can people see that resolution? And I guess they can. Or when the physical screen you're looking at is large enough, and there's people looking at these things on a wall-size screen, So I guess so, but here we are. This is one of those things. I don't think these are supposed to touch the bottom here, so let's just pull it off now. Also, my current video editing setup, of course, is not set, of course, for 4K. If I did try and make that switch, it means new cameras and a new software. I'd have to switch to Final Cut Pro, I guess. I suppose is what I'd have to use. But another learning curve. I've been just postponing that whole thing, 4K. And then there's what they're talking about 5K, and I don't even understand what's the deal. I don't know. More and more with the YouTube side of it, I would really now like to move forward to a situation. I mean, it's going to be impossible to do in the near future, but I would really like to move forward to a situation where we had a tech crew here to do that stuff. I would really just like to work on the content, getting the presentations ready, and sort of book together with our tech crew. Can we have a filming next Thursday? I'll get my scripts, etc. ready. Can you guys get the cameras ready? Never going to happen, but Coming along, coming along, coming along. Yeah, I know 4K is the thing. I know. Well, someone's saying the content doesn't have the details to catch. This is what I was thinking, but that last video I made with the printing and the stuff with the pigments, specifically that one has had a whole bunch of people saying, this content, we need better resolution for this. And I don't know, I mean, a big video about something like this, I could understand a better resolution, but that printing video. But clearly, there's lots of people, better eyes than me or whatever. John's here, 4K. Yeah. I guess at some point this is a move I will have to make, but just one more thing one more batch of gear, one more learning curve. I guess actually having said that, with a grown, one more learning curve, with a grown, I guess actually I'm kind of getting old then, because when I think about it, those times when it was time to upgrade my computer or upgrade the OS or stuff like that, I used to look forward to those things. We get a whole bunch of new stuff, like new toys or whatever, and now I'm dreading it. I'm dreading the next upgrade for my computer. It's a hardware upgrade after a 5-year step, an OS upgrade from 10.12 to whatever number it is now, 10.99, I don't know. I'm dreading it. Software that doesn't work, dependencies that are broken, hardware that's incompatible. So I guess I've just turned into this old dude now who doesn't want stuff to change anymore. I don't know. It's the beginning of the end, so... Dependencies. It is fun work, this tiger, though, these curves. It's good fun to carve these things, I wish this was a harder piece of wood. It'd be a bit more pleasure, but it's okay. Round and around these curves, how fine I can split them. I've lost a bunch of them, I've tried to split some stuff here that just didn't get split. So I've ended up with one slightly fat one instead of two tiny things split together, but this one's fun. Here we go, there's another one here. It's too fat, so we try and split this down one side. I'm running on my fingernail, eh? The knife is on my fingernail. The fingernail is holding it, and I'm moving my finger. This one's freehand. Back we go. This is the other side of the V-cut. In we go, slightly deeper, 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 deeper till we get to the end. Watch out for where the knife is hitting. And bingo, out we come. And we've got a split here. It looks like a pair of chopsticks or a pine needle. They're joined at the top. And they split down to infinity. This is the most fun carving. If the wood was denser and harder, it would be really, really nice. Oh, sunshine. Look at that. We're getting sunshine. Woo, woo, woo. It might be a nice day. The downside of the sunshine is it's going to get stinky hot. I mean, really, really, really stinky hot. And a Saturday, so the bars are happy. My God, they've had too many rainy days. The bars will be really, really, really happy. There's another nominal lockdown here, but the government is changing their mind daily on what to allow. It's like wishy-washy parents who make rules for their kids. The kids start complaining, so the parents say, oh, well, okay, all right, it's okay then. They banned alcohol a few days ago. The bars are yelling, so they said, oh, well, I guess it's okay, actually, it's all right. So the government's going back and forth. And reading the newspapers, it's just chaos. It looks like they're totally out of control, just getting pushed by whichever I know, people have the strongest blowback, you know. This looks like one of the weakest governments I've ever seen here, and that's saying something. And there's all the stress, the Olympic sponsors, the Olympic committee, the athletes, you know, whatever. But the case numbers in Tokyo now, they're skyrocketing. Day by day by day, they're skyrocketing. You know, just before the Olympics. Oh, wonderful timing. So here we go. We've got a gap here. There's 2 of the black lines, and there's 4 or 5 hairs that cross the gap. And these are tough ones. It's cutting out these little tiny boxes without chipping anything. These are tough. I got lots of training at this when I was doing the Poet series, because many of the kimono patterns were like this. They were made up of crisscrossing lines. And when you've got a monstrous project like a mosquito net, that's fine. You do the vertical lines and the horizontal lines separately. But when it's just a normal block and in the middle of it there's stuff like this, you've got some crisscrosses, you just swallow hard and just go for it. Cut lightly the main lines first, and then the crosses in between. I think we got away with it here. There could be, perhaps, possibly somewhere up on the block here earlier that it could have been a few where I popped out some, didn't get full crisscross. It's possible there are 1 or 2 like that. But this one just now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They looks like they're okay. Live. This side's easier because they're free. They come out at the end and just fade away into nothing. So out they come one by one. Again, on the fingernail. Right? We recognize that gear shift. Whew. You can see it. I wasn't sure if it was visible on the camera. The two outside lines, then the little crisscrosses inside. Can't catch all this somehow. I have to confess too, what I've been trying to do is read these chats afterwards at lunchtime, but I have to confess that the last few I haven't been able to read. It's just been kind of busy here, so sorry. Lady with the broom and the leaves here. I didn't mind before the stream. I know I keep I did this leaves. You know, we have the tree right in front of our shop here. It's just off to the right. And you may occasionally actually see a leaf falling down from this. And we're now into July, and the leaves are actually starting to turn, some of them. This is one kind of tree where the leaves actually fall bit by bit by bit all summer long. It doesn't wait till November and then drop them all. So for me, every morning, part of my routine is to get out there and do my job. And these days it's rainy. So the leaves are, you know what, they're stuck to the ground. And it reminds me of a time when I was teaching English here. This is like, whatever, 30x years ago. We had a thing in each of the college classes. We didn't do this with the kids, we did the college classes, where I would teach them an idiom in English, a thing where the word said one thing but had a different meaning, had something else, an idiom. And Japanese also has lots and lots of idioms. So I would teach them a Japanese idiom, and then speaking English, they would have to try and explain to me. I mean, I would teach them an English idiom, and speaking, they would have to explain to me a Japanese idiom. And somehow it stuck in my mind. One of them was nureta ochiba. Nureta, wet. Ochi, fallen, ba, leaves. Nureta ochiba, wet, fallen leaves. And that's what I'm dealing with this morning. The leaves have been falling, it's raining, and they're all stuck hard. So you need a real stiff broom, and even then they don't come up. You get down there, your hands and knees and whatever. And why is it an idiom? These are real wet, fallen leaves. But at the time these kids were telling me this was the mid-1980s, late 1980s. Nureta ochiba was an idiom for retired salarymen who were stuck around the house, and their wives were looking at them as wet, fallen leaves. Just, we can't get rid of this thing, it's in the way, and like, what am I going to do with this thing? I have no idea if it's current Japanese or not, but it was back in 1988 or whenever this was. Nureta ochiba was an idiom, and that came to my mind this morning as I was out there trying to scrape these things off the sidewalk, you know. So. And I'm doing it, and I got to say that sometimes the ego gets really too much, you know. I'm doing this, scraping the leaves, and I hear a car coming in the distance. I'm thinking, here it is, here it is. And I look up, no, it's not that one. I'm scraping more leaves this morning. Here comes another car. Here it is, here it is. And you know what I'm getting for? Some of you who've been here on the stream for a long, long, long time, the Google, what's it called? I don't know, the Street View, the Google Street View cars come by. And one of them caught me here years and years ago when we first opened the shop. I was out there one morning doing the leaves, and the Google Street View car caught me doing that. And that's still in there on Street View from 2014 or whatever it is. But now I still can't help it. I'm out there doing leaves and I hear a car coming in. Here it comes again, here it comes again. So whatever. Look at me, I'm virtuous, I'm doing something good, you know. What a stupid brain, you know. I never noticed that day when the Google Street View car came by. I never saw it. I never noticed it. It caught me. My head was down taking care of the leaves, you know. So I've never seen one of those cars, but I have no idea what they look like. Just a car with cameras all over it, I guess. I don't know. We have a focus problem here, it looks like, too, to show. The thing about that idiom, it went both ways. I don't know whether there's two idioms. The women had an insulting idiom for their husbands, and there was one that went the other way. I don't know if they were exactly matched up, but a second one to continue the remembrance from what the kids explained to me. There was another idiom that the guys would have for the women. And if the guy was retired, he's 65 or 70 or something, then the woman is whatever, she's a few years less. She's 62, 65, whatever. And again, this is an idiom of those days in the 1980s, and the common insulting idiom for women of that type was obatarian. When you don't know the status of a woman, like oba-chan is grandma, but you don't say that to somebody on the street. It's oba-san, and that's the word for aunt, but it's used as a general term for a woman in general of sort of like a certain age. And in my life, when I was growing up too, my parents' friends, we called them aunt. It was Auntie Etta or Aunt Jill or something like this, even though they weren't my legal aunt, as in my mother's sister. So aunt was a word for, you know, the women in that position. And here in Japanese, it's the same thing. So it's obasan, but then it became obatarian, because the women were supposed to be so hardcore, just get out of my way, I'm of a certain age and nobody's going to tell me what to do, this sort of thing. The image of this is of a real nasty, self-centered woman who's going to get her own way, depending on whatever. So there's these two idioms that went back and forth, back and forth. And some of them may still be in use or not, I don't know. Obatarian. I don't know. It is bad. This might be bad language, I don't know. I don't get much knowledge about Japanese casual speech, you know, except what I sort of hear on the street outside. Nobody, and I mean nobody, speaking Japanese will speak to me, excuse me, in a casual mode. I get spoken to in, you know, generic, everyday, polite Japanese. And because I have no family here, nobody speaks to me in family level Japanese, which is really, really casual and rough. That's another story. It caused me a divorce, you know, whatever. So I don't know too much at all about off-the-cuff casual a little bit rough Japanese, just except what I might hear now and then as I'm standing outside, hearing and watching the people go by. A couple stops and has a little bit of a set to, and I hear some words and learn some new words then. But nobody speaks to me with language like that. And I don't watch movies, I don't watch TV. So I am not your go-to guy for teaching Japanese slang, not in any way whatsoever. There must be lots of YouTube channels about that, you know, whatever. Some English teacher here in Japan who is learning Japanese, who hangs out with friends and watches rough movies and stuff. And those people will really know bad language. But Dave here, I don't really know anything like that. So I have a very sheltered life in that sense. The other thing, of course, too, is that nobody corrects my Japanese. It's just, you know, yesterday, whatever, the three of us, me and Yamada-san and Watanabe-san, we spent all day working here together, speaking in Japanese for the most part. And I'm sure the things I said were full of mispronunciations and words I got wrong or something I didn't know. But nobody will correct you. Because, of course, it's disrespectful, you know. I just gave up. Years ago I told them, look, here's the ground rule. Please correct my mistakes. If you don't, I will never get any better. And they all say, okay, yeah, we'll do that. Okay, good, we'll do that. And maybe 5 minutes later, they sort of will test one and do one, and I'm eager. But they soon forget it. You know, they can't easily wipe out a lifetime of cultural training, you know. Even though Dave says, it's okay to punch me, it's okay to tell me it's wrong. Everything in their training says it's not okay to do that, that it's disrespectful to do that. So I don't get it. I don't get the feedback at all. That's just the way it is, you know. And sometimes it's really embarrassing. I did that NHK thing, a few months back. They did a special program on Amabie, and I did it by Skype from here, you know. And we rehearsed a couple of times, and I said my piece, and they approved it, and blah, 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 blah. But I saw the finished program, and I don't remember what word I used, but one of the things I said in the finished program, it was clearly grammatically wrong. I had picked the wrong word for the right thing, and we'd rehearsed this. And you would think that the producers, you know, here's this guy, he's rehearsing this. We're about to do the program live in a few minutes. Common sense says, straighten this guy out. Tell him about the word he's getting wrong, you know. But there's total paralysis. And you can imagine the scene in the control room over there. All these people hear this and see this. They all know he's about to go live and screw up. And nobody can say, Dave, excuse me, before we start live, let's check something, you know. And nobody can say this. It's too hostile, it's too disrespectful, whatever. So Dave unknowingly just goes through into the program, makes the same mistake in front of 55 million people, whatever. It's a fun country, you know. It's a fun country. Seems like we're going okay. Where are we? 8:45. Good. Get a bit more work done. We have a really nice show and tell today. I'm not going to talk about socks and stuff like that. It's a nice Meiji era book that I picked off my shelf in Ome. It's something I must have bought, I have no idea, 20, 25 years ago. It's a little book that's just been sitting on my shelf. I looked at it the last week on the train when I brought it back from Ome, and it's beautifully made. It's a wonderful little treasure. And now that it's here in Asakusa, we'll put it in line for getting photographed for the collection. And hopefully some other people get a chance to see it. Because I would guarantee, I Googled up yesterday when I was in preparation for this, I Googled this thing up to try and get more information about it. And I can find exactly nothing. I could find no images, I could find no record of the name, no record of the designer doing this. I found exactly, absolutely nothing. Maybe you guys can find something today after we talk about it, and I'll show you what it is. But it seems at the moment that this book has just fallen through the cracks. And I love that when it happens, because it means we will be able to show this thing, open it up, and bring it back to life after 100 and freaking more years of being lost to the world, you know. Work on the collection actually has slowed down a little bit, of course, because Watanabe-san, the young lady who was doing it for me over the past year or so, she's not actually working on the collection anymore because we hired her to she's working on the flea market stuff, you know, prints that go up for sale, but there's benefit there too. But the collection at the moment then is sleeping a little bit. And we were chatting yesterday about this with her and Yamada-san, and it looks like already Watanabe-san has moved in so well and is getting so good at this and is getting it so well organized. It looks like we need an assistant for her. So even though she only came in June to do this job, June 1st she started, it's moving along so well that we're actually now looking around at if somebody else can come in and help her as an assistant. You know. And we especially found that. We're doing the numbers now for our year end. Our financial year end was the end of June. And it turns out when you add everything up, we're more profitable than we thought we were. We're not in the red, thanks to the Patreon. You know, the Patreon pushes us up and over. And we're profitable. And it seems that we should have spent more money in the past 12 months. Meaning that we actually had leeway to spend more money. We could have hired more people. I mean, I've been worried about it. I've tried to avoid spending money because it's like it's a pandemic and, you know, whatever. But it turns out that we didn't spend enough. We have a bit too much left over, which means that there is actually a profit, which means we're going to be paying quite a tax bill this year. And I should have spent more money in retrospect, but you don't know, you know. And these things are so upside down now, we don't know. So I can't start now and say, okay, this next financial year, let's spend way more money, because that might be not the right thing to do, you know. I mean, really big companies are struggling with this. Do they build new factories? Do they retrench? What do they do, you know? And Dave here, in his own small sense, is in the same situation, you know. Do I save or do I spend? Business, business, business. Dave's rich, yeah, right. Dave was saying, what, Dave get to write his own wiki entry. I never touch Wikipedia. No way, no way. What we would want out of the financial system and the tax system here is what we would like to do is for a year like this, as we were getting close to the end of the financial year last year in June, we realized that there actually was going to be profit. Okay, so that's fair enough. So we'll pay taxes, which is okay, which is fair enough. But what I would have wanted to do, and there's no provision for this in the tax codes, what I wanted to do was say, okay, let's take this, X thousands that we have here and put them in a reserve account for emergencies, like there's going to be an earthquake or there's going to be rebuilding or something like this. Let me put it in a reserve account so that we will not be like dependent on the state or something like this. Like when I was living in Canada, they had something called a RRSP. You could, if you're a salary guy, you could take some money, put it in a savings account for your pension, and it wasn't taxable. That didn't count for your taxable income as long as you left it there for your pension. If you brought it out early, you had to pay taxes on it. Maybe they still have this policy. I have no idea. And that's what I want for the company here. We've got a bit of extra money this year. Okay, let me take it out of our taxable income, put it in an account where we can't touch it. It's for reserves. But we can't do that. It doesn't exist here in Japan, not at the corporate level like this. Any profit on paper is counted as profit, and they're going to take 28% of it as tax, which is okay. We need to pay tax, blah, 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 blah. But man, I would like to have a better savings reserve, And I don't know how the big companies get away with it. The Toyotas and SoftBanks and all that kind of stuff. They purportedly have bajillions of dollars in savings. I guess it's post-tax savings, I don't know. Anyway, not to complain, not to complain. We're alive, we're okay. Thanks almost entirely and totally to the patron support, we are in the red. Without that, we would be just barely still alive. Did somebody say gold barons all around? Is that what somebody posted? I don't know what I've said that might give a misleading impression that we have tons of money to get rid of. It's not actually like that, but whatever. The other part of the profits/tax situation that's awkward for us is we are taxed on the profit of the business. We're not taxed on how much money we have in the bank. And because we have what's called a long tail business. Ishikawa-san's upstairs right now. She's making a bunch of prints. After she's finished her batch of whatever they are, 50 prints or so, they go into inventory. And that inventory is an asset. It increases the value of our business. So even at the point where she's made them, I took money out of the bank to pay her. So one asset is decreased. But the prints she gave me, which cost the same amount that I've paid her, by definition, that goes into our assets. So the money we pay the printers isn't an expense until each print is sold. So long story short is we are building assets as well as cash in the bank. When we sell things, people pay us for it. There may be money left in the bank. So all of our taxable assets, our taxable profit, isn't cash. So, and I can't pay the tax bill with prints off the shelf. Like if they want $40,000 from me next month, I can't give them $40,000 wholesale worth of prints. They want cash. So this is another stiff part. You've heard about businesses talking about cash flow problems, and that's sort of what we're in too. We can be profitable, but we still don't have enough cash on hand to manage those liabilities. And we know about this. We've been planning it, so it's okay. We've been actually saving for this tax bill. So there's no Dave is not, yelling for help here. We are okay. I'm just sort of complaining. Whatever. These are the fun ones. This will need adjustment later. What I've done right now, you can see at the edge of these things, they come off into thin space. And at the moment, these are not tapered. So if I printed this block right now, all those hairs in that row, they would show an end. They would show a sharp end. So this is one of the places where after doing a test printing, I'll be coming back here and I will be feathering, excuse me, I'll be feathering roughly. Because these should all have different lengths. I don't know if we can find them. They're the same place on here. I don't know where it is. But if we look at the original, you'll see these are actually quite fat. This guy's left it quite fat. They're different lengths and they're different, nothing comes through in a straight line. So this is stage one. Just cut this. There's a group here, another group here. Look at this. There's still too much in a straight line. But I can't taper them now because I don't know where the actual length is. So this is, again, stage two after we've come through this. There's a stage two. It's like we do when we're carving the big bijinga. It's we've talked about this before. It's a 5-stage line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to taper. This is something similar. They will need to be tapered here. Domo, arigatou gozaimasu. It's a box from Kubota-san. That's the woodblock pilgrimage print for August. Kubota-san comes through, saves my life. They will need embossing. Monday morning, you'll see this package Monday morning. We're going to emboss the name on it Monday morning. The guy just comes through. He's just like clockwork. Click, click. We're going to open that package and there's going to be 88. I sent him 90 sheets of paper. We can bet on it. You can bet on it right now. He got 90 sheets of paper. How many good prints are we going to find in that package? My guess is 88. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll find out Monday morning. We'll find out Monday morning. Okay, let's do a bit more here. What time is it? It's 9 o'clock now. Good, good, good. It's another thing about Kubota-san, he is such a nice guy. This is not tacky-bin delivery. This is post office delivery. We send him the blocks and paper and sample. He makes them up. He wraps them up, sends them back to me. I am the business asking the outside contractor to do a job for me. So when I send him the blocks and paper, I pay the postage on the packing. Send it to him. Bang, out it goes. And because this is a job that I have commissioned him to do, I tell him and all our other printers, when you're finished up, put it all back, wrap it up, and send it back, collect. In other words, we pay for it. We are the business sponsoring this particular job. Or you pay the postage and put it on your bill, and we'll pay it this way. And he's like, nah. You paid it to get it to me, I'll pay it to get it to you. And I'm saying, Kubota-san, it's a deductible business expense for us. It's my request to you to do this. There's no reason you should have extra expenses. You make the prints, bill me for them, and send it back. And he's like, no. All our other printers, of course, they say, sure, thanks, Dave, that really helps, good. And they send it back, collect. I don't have to pay money at the counter here because we have an account with the post office. We have an account with tacky-bin. They just bring it back and they say, collect package, and good. And at the end of the month, it appears on our bill. He won't do that. He won't. I just gave up. We don't talk about him. I just give up. He's a nice guy. I appreciate he's a nice guy. So all I can do now is say, thank you, sir. But. He's a gentleman of a type that, well, I was going to say doesn't exist anymore. That's not true. Gentleman or gentleman. But he's a gentleman of his age, of his era, I don't know if there are such things as the people that you would describe as a gentleman anymore. I don't know, I would like to think that I myself behave that way to people. Whether I do or not, I don't know. You can't see yourself so much. But Kubota-san absolutely has an image of someone. He doesn't want to be seen as being grubbing for money. He doesn't want his name put in lights. He's quiet. He's polite. I mean, that's just the only word I can think of to describe him. He's an absolutely super nice guy and a gentleman. And is he ever good at what he's doing? My God, is he ever good at it? Oh. In a sense, you know, at the moment, Dave is sort of living here in a golden age, you know. I'm complaining all the time. There's no good wood left. There's no good washi, blah, 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 blah. But it's only going downhill from here. And it could be that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'll look back on this time and say, my God, you didn't know how good you had it. You know, Kubota-san was still alive doing this for you, the wood, blah, blah, blah. So I guess so, you know, I guess so. He is such a nice guy. You know. We've tried to get him to come and spend time here, to hang out with our people, to teach. We've offered all kinds of money. We're not asking for favors. And he just, nope. His job is to sit there and print until one day he can't. You know. A while back, we got a video clip. Somebody posted it to YouTube. It was a video clip about the famous Boston Museum Adachi collaboration. Some people at the Boston Museum found some old wood blocks from Hokusai books. We've talked about this on the stream before. There were some wood blocks turned up in the Boston Museum of Fine Arts that were wood blocks, the original wood blocks that were used to produce some Hokusai books. There was 3 different volumes of, 3 different series of books found. And they had the great idea, and they got a sponsor. TBS, the Japanese TV company, TBS sponsored it, and they sent the blocks back to Japan where Adachi printed them. And this would have been in mid-1980s. I'm sorry, I can't get it. 84, 85, 86, somewhere on there. Just about the time I came here. I didn't know these people then, so I didn't have anything to do with that, but it wasn't anything to do with me. And TBS made a 1-hour TV special on it, which was later issued as a sort of a documentary. And different programs were made with different parts of the footage. And on YouTube, it's still there now. Somebody in Japan here has put up a YouTube Japanese clip talking about this. No, it's in English. You can Google it. If you Google Boston Museum, Hokusai, Books, Adachi, Tokyo, something like this, it'll pop up. And there's a YouTube video about this. Maybe it's a 30-minute cut of the original 1-hour Japanese program. I don't know what it is. はい、どうもありがとうございます。青梅からですね。よかった。Good. どうもいつも。Anyway, long story for the point of the ramble is in the middle of that, there's a scene where the blocks have arrived at the Adachi company. And they're putting the blocks on this table, and Isamu-san, who is the boss, and he was the president at the time, now he's the kaicho, and he gathers around him some of his staff, the printers and a couple of the carvers, to inspect these blocks. And when I saw this on YouTube a while back, I jumped up and down, look at that, there's Kubota-san, and he's like 27 years old or something or whatever. And Kubota-san is in that gang, and he's clearly a junior member at that time. There's Murata-san and Nakata-san, the older Adachi printers, who are the ones who are getting to look at this and do this. And Kubota-san wasn't chosen to do the job. He was just a young dude there at the time. But he's in this movie, and he's looking at this stuff going on the table. He's been, you know, allowed to sit in on this part of it. And he's there on the table geeking around, and this is Kubota-san, the guy who is now magnificently doing a bunch of work for us, you know. These are prints. What we're seeing, that latest box that just arrived is a inventory transfer. We have some orders that came in last week or over the weekend to Asakusa, not over the weekend, during the last week to Asakusa. And I needed some prints that we didn't have here, so Ome has sent them to us. So these are 2 things. This is inventory transfer to Asakusa, and this is the first stuff for the next FedEx box. And this is bad news for somebody. Somebody ordered 1 day too late. If they had placed their order 1 day earlier, this would have come yesterday morning. It would have gone in the FedEx box. It would have been on its way to America as we speak. So somebody's order, I don't know who it is, some couple of orders are in there, and they are the first ones that gather together for the next FedEx box, which will go, this is July the 10th, so give me 20 days. It'll go probably on the last couple of days of July. And I can't help it. I can't avoid that cycle. There's people that hit the front of the cycle and people that hit the back end of the cycle, and that's all there is to it. And where we really get hurt is those people who've ordered for a birthday or something, and it could be somebody's birthday here is August the 2nd or something, and it's not going to make it. Can't be helped, can't be helped. Pandemic, you know. Okay, something else too on my mental list here of stuff I was supposed to talk about today. I have a hypothetical question for you, just completely, purely hypothetical. You know, I'm asking for a friend. Imagine that there was somebody who was doing social media on different platforms. Imagine, you know, there was somebody who maybe had a YouTube channel, and, you know, there was an Instagram there, and maybe this organization also, like, did some streaming on Twitch. You know, just imagine, this is hypothetical. And imagine that that organization was doing kind of well on YouTube. And at some point, YouTube sent them an email saying, your silver play button is in preparation and will be mailed to you arriving in 1 or 2 weeks. Just let's imagine that situation. It does happen to people, so I hear. Now, that organization is happy to hear this news. You know, wow, they're going to get a silver play button. That's cool. And YouTube then asks, the same email coming from YouTube said, please plan something special for the unboxing. This was a request from the YouTube, in the sense it's a boilerplate in the email. Speaking hypothetically here, in this email, there's this request from YouTube that says, please plan something for the unboxing and let us know. Okay, I can understand why they would say that and why they would ask that. But then, this hypothetical situation, this organization that has received this email, that is maybe going to receive this email, is streaming on Twitch, not on YouTube. They don't use YouTube for their streaming, they use Twitch for their streaming. Hypothetically, then, if this were to happen, what should that organization do? Hypothetically. I'll be interested to see what your ideas are. We do have this. Speaking of whatever, there is this channel that has this thing where at the end of every Twitch stream, they have a little bit of an unboxing sometimes. And we're not going to be unboxing today because it's a package that I unboxed 25 years ago. So today's show and tell won't be an unboxing, but we do have sometimes unboxings. Let me know your thoughts on this. John Becker's asking, isn't EMS shipping to the US now? EMS is shipping to the US, and we had one going yesterday, and we've got another one going Monday. We are shipping EMS to the US for Prince Great Wave. Somebody wants a Great Wave, they're willing to pay $30 for shipping. It goes EMS to the US. Somebody orders a $40 gift print from us for a birthday for August, EMS $32 doesn't. We give them the option, but no, people don't do it. So Believe me, Cameron is on this every day. Cameron and Aoyama-san and our shipping people, they are on this every day. This order, what are the options for this order? That order, what are the options for that order? That person said it's a gift. We've just missed the FedEx. We let the person know. So Cameron and the team are trying to be on top of this. I mentioned a few minutes ago that person, somebody has missed the birthday. I shrugged a little bit. We don't just do it like that. Of course, we are in constant contact. And this is one of the biggest parts of Cameron's job. Every day, going through the orders, checking how this is going to be able to be shipped, confirming with the customer that that's going to be okay, showing him the options. You're in Australia, well, we can send it to you with tracking through Utah. And they go like, won't you run that by me again? And we'll say, Australia isn't accepting tracking right now, but they do from the US. So if you're willing to take a little bit longer here, we can ship it to America first and then ship it to you in Melbourne or wherever it is. And Cameron gives the people who are ordering, gives them all these options and shows them what's available. And the options keep changing, of course, all the time. Cameron has become a professional shipping advisor. That's his current career. He's not really wanting to do this for much longer, but things are what they are. What did you do in the war, Daddy? I was a shipping advisor. Hontoni pandemic, hontoni. I guess there's never going to be some single day when this is over. We all clap together. The pandemic is finished. Let's go. We're back to normal. It's not going to happen like that, obviously. This thing's going to be with us forever. The strictures are going to gradually be relaxed. Airplanes might start coming back bit by bit. So there's going to be no single day of celebration. But my God, I've had enough of this. Same as everybody, of course. I shouldn't say that because at least nobody's died. I'm okay, and none of my immediate associates or family members or anybody has been hurt. So I shouldn't complain. We're okay. But yeah, we've had enough. Have we had enough? Have we had enough? I guess, too, in a sense, this pandemic thing, this might be a bit of an exaggerated analogy, but I think there's a grain of truth in this. If you think back to a situation where, say, 100 years ago or so, when there were 80 years ago, when there was the big war, the Pacific War, the World War II, And I'm not equating that to the pandemic, but just bear with me for a minute there. While that war was on, it of course, changed everything, turned the world upside down. And as it progressed, there must have been people thinking, okay, we're going to get to the end of this, and let's get back to normal, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it turned out that there was no normal to go back to, because the world, for nearly all countries that were involved, the post-war world, ended up being something completely different. The world rebuilt itself in a completely sort of different shape and structure after the war. And I guess, we're in that same sort of situation here. It's not going to go back to the way it was. We're just not going to go back to 2019. There's going to be a sort of a new world order. And just how it's going to be different, I don't know, of course. I don't know. Okay, we have a show and tell. Okay, this is a very nice, pleasant little item today. It's a little bit small scale, so I might be zooming in and zooming out and zooming in and zooming out. Let's put this down for a minute, a little bit smaller. And let's have a look at this. And as I said, it's something I picked up in Ome the other day. Just grabbed it off the shelf. It must be a book. I have no idea when I got it. I would have bought it when I had a little bit of money from the Poets series, stuff like that. And at first I thought this was the label of the actual book itself. It's not. This is the label, a rubber stamp from the guy a previous owner, a previous collector. And we're going to get a little bit angry at him in a few minutes because he took his rubber stamp, this is my book, and he stamped it all over the prints inside. So whatever, I don't know. Okay, it's a little bound volume. Exactly when it was made, I don't really know. If we skip ahead to the back of the book here, there is a colophon page. But the colophon page doesn't mention this particular book. It's not the publication information for the album that we are looking at. It's a generic advertising page for the publisher. So this doesn't really help us too much, except that it does have a date, and the date is Meiji 31, the third month, the first day. So Meiji 31, I should know these by now. I'm depending on the stream here to tell me what this is. Meiji 31, and we have one of the most famous names in all of Meiji era publishing here. We have Daikokuya. Literally, it's the house of large black, whatever, I don't know how you would translate it. I have no idea. Daikokuya. And the man's name, the man who ran it, was Matsuki Heikichi. And among people like me, he is famous. He and another dude called Akiyama Buemon, they had two competing publishing companies. Matsuki had Daikokuya, and Akiyama Buemon ran one that the name I can never remember. Google will tell you up in a few minutes. And these guys published prints the like of which had never been seen before. This is an advertising page, and it says Orihon Rui type. Ori is folding, so the folding book type. This is a miniature catalog of their publications at that particular date. And as I said, this one has no dated colophon, but it certainly can't be any. Well, it could have been earlier than this, and this thing could have been stuck in afterwards. So I'm not going to comment about that. I don't know when. We're talking about the general era. And mostly this guy worked with, we see Ogata Gekko, we see Kobayashi Kiyochika, we see, who else? Miyagawa Shunte. It says Dave placing his bet on the pronunciation of that character. No names in the Meiji era. So let's now have a look. There's no information in this book about who the designer is, except each of the prints is signed with what was, to me, sort of unreasonable until yesterday. I took some time, finally, after all these years, and tried to figure it out. Let me get the light off here for a minute. Let's get in here. I need a backstop. What do we need for a backstop? Let's put this in here. This is one of those albums of a type that we've seen before. There's an album, an orihon, a folded album of 12 prints. You've seen these many, many, many times on this show and tell. And they are the same theme. It's snapshots of life from the upper class. These are very, very, very wealthy people showing scenes of life, activities. It looks like Ogata Gekko. It's not Ogata Gekko. The kanji here, ko, looks like the ko in Gekko. And what finally gave me the clue yesterday, this sort of looked like fish, sakana, also pronounced gyo. So I realized, wait a minute, the pictures don't match the name, but the name seems to be Kogyo, Ko-u-gyo. And there was a famous designer of the era called Tsukioka Kogyo, who didn't do prints of this type. He did prints of the No theater and some kabuki. And when you Google Tsukioka Kogyo, you find nothing of this. But that's what the name seems to say, Kogyo. And it's the right era. So my bet at the moment on who designed these is Tsukioka Kogyo. And when we get these up on the collection, we'll have a chance to do some Google image searching. Carving, carving, carving to die for. Carving to die for. The drawing, I don't know so much about the drawing. This lady has kind of a not such a nice nose, etc., etc. Dave, you know Dave here. I don't really care about that part of it. Dave is all here for the carving and printing and the washi and the overall quality. So somebody's got the kanji there, Tsukioka. Let's find it. Here's the kanji. I think this is matching sort of the one we are looking at here, Tsukioka. It's, I guess, a mother and two daughters, and they seem to be playing one of those string tying games. You know, you wrap strings around your fingers and you make, what do we call it? Cat's cradle in English. In Japanese, it's called ayatori. And in Japanese, there are a bajillion variations on this. Japan is the king of ayatori. There are books and books and books. My kids could do this. They could wrap strings around the house. And this is what we're seeing here. I believe they're playing some kind of ayatori game. You can see how it works, right? You flip your fingers in, tie, 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 flip, flip, flip. These days it's not part of my life because I don't have daughters in the house, but when I had two daughters, this was something we did all the time. They would learn something new at school, they'd come running home. We can show Dad this, he won't be able to figure it out, and they would do flip, flip, flip. They'd turn their backs and do this, flip, 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 and show me this, and I'm like, okay, how did we do that? So this is ayatori. And they're going to be actually seasonal. There will be, it's not straight through January, February, March, but when you take the 12 prints, they will actually line up with the seasons. This one, I'm not sure what's going on here. It says flower, something, michi, root. Now, do, this is the do. When they talk about aikido, shodo, taekwondo, the way of the brush or whatever, shodo. This is do, the way, and it's flower, so it's ka something do, but it's not ikebana. But the ladies have some flowers, they've cut some flowers and they're doing something with it. Let's zoom in and pan around this thing. Again, I'm not totally in love with the way this guy draws faces and noses, but whatever, I have a nose like that too, so maybe I should just be quiet. And to point out some things that Dave here would look at, just any random spot on this print, the carving of the brushstrokes. The brushstroke would have been sort of a brushstroke, but the carver turned it into a stroke with a start and a taper and a swell and a release. And every one of these lines, whether it's a screen in the background or a piece of wood or a kimono or whatever, every one of these lines has that glorious carver's taste. And this is why I keep coming back to this stuff. When I said I don't have a nose like that, I meant I have a nose. You know, I mean, like most Japanese people don't have noses. It's sort of not there and not in the way. My daughters don't have noses. There's just a little thing in the middle of their face. Dave has a nose, as does this lady. So that's what I meant. I didn't mean it was like exactly that shape, but whatever. The hair, I think most of them are done with 3 blocks. I'm not going to quote chapter and verse on the whole book. Come on, zoom out, zoom out. Come on. We have the key line, which is faint gray, and that will be under the base of the head, and it will have the faint hairs. Then there will be a gray block underneath here, and then of course on top of that there is the black block, and on top of that there is our favorite that we get all the time, shomenzuri. These are shiny hair. If I can try and find the angle of light here, see it? It's almost there. Dave's almost found it. There's a shininess on the hair blocks as well. So there's actually 4 blocks involved in any given piece of this hair. These heads. There we are. Got it there. The hair is shined up to make it look shiny and clean and not lacquered, but to make it look shiny. Front rubbed, yes, the hair is front rubbed. And there are other places in these books when we see some decorative objects that would be lacquerware objects, they're also front rubbed. They look like blank pages. It's because the book is slightly coming apart. Those would have been glued together in the beginning. I don't know what these ladies are doing. They're in a room with a hanging thing which has been pulled aside to allow more breeze. And they are inspecting a book, and I don't think it's going to be, I think it'll be a polite book. There would be nothing else in a book. Oh, it's a woman and her daughter, so. What's the book they're inspecting? Oh, it's Kogyo. It's a book of the No Theater. If I turn this upside down, this guy has put his own print into here. This is a typical Tsukioka Kogyo print. It's a dancer of the No Theater. He's promoting his own cameo. He's put a cameo in here. What is the title? Is that what it is? Nishikie? So, Nishikie, Nishikie. It looks like you're Nishikie. Very nice. Good catch, somebody. Who's doing the translation for me? Washabinsky. Good. You have more kanji ability than I do, sir. Go for it. Go for it. Are you doing all the pages? I didn't notice. Thank you. All help appreciated. And just the detail. How much, did they need to put a gradation on this pot? Well, they did. It just adds to the detail. I have no idea how many blocks for each. It's many, many blocks for each one. These prints would have been marketed and sold one by one in the publisher's shop, and they would have been sold also as orihon, as albums like this. What have we got? What does it say? Shigure kana? There's no 10-10 on the gu. It says shikure, which is shigure. What's the fruit? Is it persimmons? Wet, it's rainy, so rainy would signify June or July, but I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. These ladies are a bit overdressed for a hot season like June. I don't know. Not sure. Not sure. I'll stand aside on that one. What season this is really supposed to represent, I don't know. What's next? What do we have? No, I'm not going to guess on that. I'm sorry. Bonsai. Soka, bonsai. I give up too soon. It is indeed bonsai. Bonsai. I beat you. This one. If there was a contest here, Dave's going to lose, but I got that one. I can get some of them. I'm curious about this one. Well, I understand bonsai. We have, a plant. It doesn't look like what we typically think of bonsai as being trees. For us, this would look more like something like ikebana, but I guess it counts as bonsai. This is, I suppose, a branch of a tree. I don't know how you make your definition between ikebana, I guess, are cut, the flowers. Bonsai, the thing is growing. So I guess is that the defining factor here that calls it bonsai? I don't know. But I'm curious about this. There is a stone seal and a vermilion stamp pad on the table, open, which would indicate that this lady has just been writing a letter or something and she has sealed a letter. I'm not quite sure why that would be there. And we can see the red of the seal pad, so it's been opened. Someone's complaining about the red registration. I don't know. It's off a bit. Nay. When you think about the red block down, oops, too far. Come on, focus. It does indeed look a bit off to one side here, but yet right beside it, it's exactly okay. Up here on the pattern, the red is okay. So I'm not actually sure that's off. It could have been a bit of like rim light cut into that. I don't know. Careless carving, maybe? We'll see. We'll see. I get that the seal could be part of a display, but in that case, why would the vermilion stamp pad be open? That's going to dry out, so I'm not quite so sure about that. Again, Dave doesn't know from nothing, so I'll just keep quiet. I can ask the questions, I can't always answer them. And this one, this is a rip. This is a rip. We have another book in our collection here. Oh, I forget who it's by. I don't know. I'd forget my own name if I didn't have to sign it every day. I know. There's another image that this is a rip. It's people on a stand feeding the koi with eggs, and that's exactly what's happening here. We have a summer scene. It's under the wisteria out in the park. There's a bunch of people. We have tea. There's ready for make tea. We have a child. And in case you didn't notice it, there are koi fish down at the bottom here. This is taking place in somewhere where there's a pond. They are in a stand over the pond. And these are 2 koi at the bottom. Oh, it says, Fuji, I forget, I can read the proof. It's Fuji, and I'm not sure about this one, I'm sorry. It's actually probably obvious. Murasaki? Fuji Murasaki? Not sure, not sure. What have you got it? So, question marks all around. I don't know, I'm sorry. I would guess Murasaki, but Fuji is wisteria. That's the name of the plant, you know. Someone's asking about the head, the blue kid. Kids they had shaved heads. Little boys had shaved heads and they left sideburns. They didn't call them sideburns, but the little bit at the side, this is hair that has been left and the top of his head is shaved. So it's like it's a 5 o'clock shadow with this blue shadow. And young boys, that was the standard haircut. Okay, I think we've done 6 of these now, so just a sec, let's zoom out a bit. This is the owner, ne? Saito Heikichi. This is the rubber stamp from the owner. He stamped his name all over these damn things. And we now get to the back of the book, and it closes to the back. And you know how this thing goes. We just keep opening, and away we go on the other side. What should we do now here? I've been doing this for the past few weeks. I've got this stack of books here. We open up the front, we look at it, we get halfway through, and then Dave has to get to work. I now have 3 books here stacked up on my shelf, of which we have only seen the first half. So I think, in the interest of looking at these things properly, let's do this. Let's take a look at the second half of this, perhaps in tomorrow's, next day's stream. I can't just bam, bam, bam through the collection and grab it and grab it and grab it and grab it and just toss it aside. Let's save some of this and the other 3 books and look at some of this the next time we come through. I've got to start doing that. Otherwise, it's in a way, it's disrespectful to these things, you know. So let's do this. Let's call it a day here for today. Okay, it's Saturday. I'm out of here. I'll be back here in 2 days. Monday morning, I am almost certainly still going to be on the Tiger. We are probably going to see some embossing. I'll save that Kubota-san stuff for embossing for Monday. So Monday's stream will be a bit of embossing, a bit of carving, and we'll look at the back end of one of these books. And I hope I can get some feedback on that hypothetical question about, is it polite or is it disrespectful to YouTube if I do the if this person did the unboxing of a silver play button on another platform? I really honestly don't know. Okay, I'm out here, guys. Thanks very much. Let's pop up the outside just so we can see it before we leave. Look at this sunshine. It's gonna get stinky hot. It's gonna get stinky hot. Oh my God, it's gonna be hot. Break out the beer. Okay, guys, signing off. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Ooh, ooh. Bye-bye.